Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I have a video for you that is not really a review. It's certainly not a philosophical discussion or a treatise. It's not a disassembly. It's not an unboxing or a sneak preview. No, today's video is a manifesto. Watchmakers, I'm putting you on notice here today. Half links are not optional, damn it. Now, let me explain what that means. So when you buy a watch that is on a bracelet, it comes with links, right? These individual links are not only the points of articulation for the individual bracelet, right, that allow it to bend, but they are also the way that you adjust the bracelet. If I want to take this Omega Seamaster 300 here and I want to make the bracelet shorter because my wrist is smaller than it's adjusted for, then what I would do is I would unscrew this and I would unscrew this and I would take this link out of there. And that allows me to adjust the bracelet with some level of granularity. Here it looks to be maybe 9 millimeters or so worth of length here. And so if the bracelet is too short, I add one of these guys back in, and if it's too long, then I take one of these guys out. The problem is, on modern watch bracelets, very often the link length is ridiculous, right? You are only able to adjust a bracelet like this, for instance, with a granularity of about 10 millimeters, which ain't a whole lot, 9 millimeters, right? That's not great, right? That's not very granular. And so to help this as a quality of life feature that every damn watch ever should include that has a bracelet, there are such things as half links, right? This is the normal length of a link on this watch here, and this is a half link. This is something that was included with this watch because it is a good watch, and good watches come with half links, that is about a half of the size of the actual, of one of the bracelet links. And so, rather than having to add in a full link or take out a full link, I could just add this guy in. And as a result, I now have a great deal more granularity, right? If the watch is too tight when I take out a full link and too loose when I add one in, putting in a half link means the watch is going to fit me absolutely perfectly. The other thing that a half link can be very useful for, and where you might want granularity, is in adjusting the position of the clasp on the wrist, right? Because you want the clasp of a watch to be in a good position for your wrist's unique anatomy, that is, your unatomy, if you will. And so it might be that you want to shift this clasp a little bit this way or a little bit that way, and the half link is perfect for that. And of course, half links aren't always half. This is a half link right here, actually, but it's actually closer to a quarter, right? It's much smaller than the surrounding things, but it still serves the purpose of giving me a little bit of extra length, and that is an absolutely wonderful thing, right? Half links are crucial. They are really, really helpful. And of course, there were companies that go the extra mile, and they include not just one half link, but they include maybe a 1/3 link and a 2/3 link, or a half link and a quarter link. That allows you really incredible amounts of precision in making the bracelet fit exactly your wrist on exactly every day, and that is an exactly wonderful thing. But the thing is, watchmakers, you need them, because they help you get a perfect adjustment on a watch bracelet. And a watch has two jobs, recall. One of them is to tell time accurately, and the other is to go around on your wrist in a comfortable manner. And if you don't include those, then for a subset of your people, you're not going to have that. Now, I immediately hear a bunch of whining in a Swiss accented French and or German coming out from the woodwork, also from Japan. Seiko, come on, get with the program here. A bunch of watchmakers, though, immediately started complaining. And they're going to say things like, no, Nick, we don't need a half link because my bracelet has a tooled MicroAdjust. This bracelet right here has a little post that you can press in. And by the way, watch my video on adjusting watch bracelets for a perfect fit to get a sense of some of the different ways you can go about this. But this has a little thing here where you can stick a little tool in here and move this post back and forth and get a little bit of extra length. This is a Tudor Black Bay 36. This is an incredible watch that is greatly hindered by the lack of a half link in my life. But using a tooled MicroAdjust is a dumb idea. You should move to a toolless version, which allows you to adjust the bracelet without any kind of tools, without any kind of special situation. That's a better approach, period. But B, even if you have one of these kinds of things, very often the amount of tooled adjustment is much smaller than the amount of link. So take a look at this guy right here. We have a total range of adjustment here that is, let's be approximate here, but about 6 millimeters worth of adjustment. That's a wonderful thing, except when you look at the link and you realize that it's more than 6 millimeters long, which means that if this guy die is too big or too small for you with a link added or subtracted, you can still end up in a very unhappy medium. And the fact that they have room for another hole and they didn't bother to freaking drill it is an incredible feat of laziness on the part of Tutor. And so even having one of those little adjustment holes means that, well, yeah, you're going to have a slightly better chance of being able to get the right average size for somebody's wrist. But especially if you don't have more than a couple of links worth of adjustment hole on the bottom here, you're probably not going to be able to get a great fit with it. And you still can't do the things where you're moving the bracelet around, or moving the clasp, that is, back and forth on the wrist. It is a required thing even with that. Frankly, especially with that. You can still end up in a very unhappy medium without more granularity of adjustment. And okay, some makers are like, okay, well, sure, those people, it's really dumb to use one of these tooled quick adjust. Yes, I agree with you, watchmaker. That's 100% accurate. Thank you. I'm glad you finally acknowledged that. But no. You see, my watch has a toolless micro extension. This is an example here. This is the Formex Essence. And by the way, this is a watch that I pick on far less for this, because if we look at the length of the actual links, it is actually relatively small. This has relatively small links, which means you are very, very likely to be able to get pretty close to where your wrist is in terms of size by actually adding and subtracting these links. But this is an example of a watch that has an instant extension sort of thing, where I can take this guy off and I can pull like this. I can pull like this and instantly get, maybe 4 or 5 millimeters worth of extension here. And this is a nice thing. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that very much. And it beats the heck out of these stupid freaking hole-based adjustment systems that require tools. But let's think a little bit about how humans work, right? So your wrist has a diameter, right? We're going to go ahead and call that number D. And the thing is, though, if you're like me, your wrist is going to swell, right? There are going to be days where it is right kind of in that middle zone here, but there are going to be days, and probably fewer of them, a lesser amount of time, where it gets higher and higher, right? Where you go way, way big diameter days where it's like, oh my God, I have eaten all the salt in the world, and it's really hot out, and I'm dying over here. Where you get your Redeemer going on, and suddenly your wrist is really big, but there are also going to be days where maybe it's really cold out. You're experiencing a little bit of shrinkage. I don't know what causes the wrist to shrink otherwise, but where it also gets a little bit smaller here. Thing is, if you want to be able to comfortably wear a watch, this is the problem zone. If you adjust the watch so that it is right here, so that it is absolutely perfect on your wrist, and then your wrist starts to swell, then this distance right here we can refer to as suffering. Right here, because your watch bracelet is going to be pulling down, biting onto your wrist with incredible difficulty and whatnot. It's not going to be great because you're trying to compress metal. You're trying to stretch metal out with flesh, and that just doesn't freaking work right. Right? So that's a bad idea. You want to avoid this suffering area. And so the perfect use of an easy link is to say, okay, my watch is perfectly adjusted for my wrist on the average day. If it's a little bit loose because my wrist is, a little bit smaller, then whatever, not a big deal. It's a little loose. But on days where I am in the suffering territory, then whoop, I'm going to adjust my bracelet over to here. And then suddenly I'm out of suffering territory and the watch fits fine. That's great. But the thing is, in order to make this work, you need to have the watch properly adjusted for that mean diameter of your wrist at any given moment. And in order to really get that proper adjustment, you need to be able to adjust it with detail, with granularity. You need to find that average and adjust exactly there, so that way you can take advantage of that easy link to get out of suffering town when you need it. So just saying that, oh, I've got the easy link, I don't need a half link, means that you could end up in a situation where the only way to be here is with the easy link, and in that case, you're constantly walking around with the easy link deployed, and the watch never really fits. Well, I'm sorry, and the watch doesn't ever fit when you swell up a little bit, right? That's a freaking problem. So you want a permanent adjustment to get you right here, and then this temporary adjustment to bring you this away, right? That is exactly why you need a half link, even if you have that kind of an easy link sort of thing. You want to make sure that that's not the thing that makes the watch fit to start with. So that is not a good excuse. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, Nick, I've done the right thing. I am a watchmaker who has done smartness, and I have added a toolless quick adjust system. Here's an example of that. This is a Christopher Ward super compressor watch that actually inspired this rant. But anyways, this guy has a little toolless quick adjust where I reach in and I pull out and I can get a little bit extra length. And similarly, this Omega here has the same basic idea. You push this in, you get a little extra length. You put it in deeper, you take up some of that length. And again, here's another example from the Omega here. And, there are lots of these systems out there, and they're great. This is a thing that should be standard on every damn watch, period, ever. I'm sorry, watchmakers, otherwise you're being a little bit on the lazy side. But you're thinking to yourself, okay, but Nick, I have a toolless quick adjust, right? I have all this range. There's no way that I could use a half link still. But the thing is, I disagree with you. You are almost there, and I appreciate you as humans for including good features on watches that are good for human wrists. But the thing is, no. Because the thing is, we want that natural permanent fit to be right here in the middle, so that way we can have the extension right there in the middle most of the time. And on days where my wrist is a little small, I can adjust it down this way, and on days where the wrist is a little, I adjust it this way. We want this natural diameter, the permanent diameter there, to be right in the middle of your adjustment range. So you can go down on, and you can go up, and whatever. Not a big deal, right? But at the same time, if you don't have a half link, then use probably your actual diameter. You might only be able to adjust it to here or to here, and that means the watch is going to be too tight a lot of the time or too loose. This is a really good system, and having one of these that has a great deal of extension. This has a fair bit of extension. This is damn near not needing a half link, but at the same time, you want the watch to usually be in a state where it's kind of in the middle, so you can shrink it down or open it up a little bit, depending on what's necessary, right? So unless you've got a massive amount, like 2 or 3 links worth of adjustment on that bracelet, you still want that half link to be able to get yourself to an absolutely perfect place without that, or you're going to have a really bad time. Then there are going to be people who are going to say to you, no, Nick, no, hold on, no, my bracelet, it has smaller links, right? So the Form X is a nice example of that, right? The links on this guy are much smaller than the links on this Tudor, which are just too damn big, right? This is a much greater adjustment granularity, but at the same time, remember that if you're not giving people enough adjustment, then you're still not giving them enough adjustment, right? Even with an easy link, something like this, it would be very nice to have an option for an even smaller piece of extension in there that would just make things a little bit better. Why is it a bad thing to give your customers more situations in which they can comfortably wear a bracelet? I appreciate the smaller link thing. That's a good idea. You've reduced the chance of discomfort, but the simple fact is, it's still better to offer that additional flexibility. And then there are going to be dealers who are going to say things like, well, no, okay, yeah, sure, I see what you mean. Having a half link, that's a good idea. Because if you don't have a watch bracelet that can fit, well, that's a good reason to bring the watch freaking back. Or, better still, just sell it down the road, right? If your watch never fits, that's going to be a problem. So some makers have taken the tack of, well, I'm lazy and I'm really greedy, but I still want to make these available to people, so I'm going to make them available through separate purchase, right? We have our half links available on our website for a nominal cost. But the question becomes, A, how freaking cheap are you? Seriously, you have just sold me a luxury timepiece for potentially thousands of dollars. Like, okay, if you're selling me a watch for $100, sure, sell the half link. I get that, for whatever. But the thing is, I just bought a watch from you for several $1,000s, and you are nickel and freaking diming me on a link for it? Really? And more importantly, you're making me wait days or weeks or months for you to get them in stock or to get to my dealer or whatever, in order for me to make my watch that I just bought fit me well. That is some shameful shit right there. I am sorry, right? They should be including at least one half link for free and make the additional ones super easy to order, because that way you've got the option there. And if you decide you want a little more granularity, and this is by the way a good argument for making them like 3/4 links, so that way you have even more adjustment by getting multiples of them in there. But no, you need to include at least one so that this expensive luxury watch you just sold me is going to fit. I'm sorry, if you're sitting there, oh, my margins on my luxury timepieces aren't high enough. Yeah, okay, sure thing there. Nuh-uh. Include the damn half link. And then finally, there were companies that seem to have the attitude of, well, no, it's fine without him. And no, I'm sorry, it is not, you lazy cheap bastards. And I'm very angry about this, but the thing is, the lack of half links can make watches very, very unpleasant to wear that are otherwise absolutely amazing. People who have that attitude should be freaking ashamed of themselves, because they are precision machinists, right? Watchmakers are precision, they make really cool things out of metal. And you're telling me you don't want to make something out of metal? Really? Is that where you're going with this? Seriously, the fact that it works for you, the particular watch works for you, on your wrist and maybe for a couple of your executives, oh, that's great. That's well and good. But clearly, that's all that you really cared about, right? Or you're one of those people who wears the watch, flopping around on your wrist like a freaking hula hoop on a hot dog, right? If that's you, then yeah, you've never cared once about a half link because you've never cared once about a watch fitting you right. But anyways, I really don't care. You have one job, which is to make a good, accurate timepiece that fits well on my wrist. That is the only thing that you are supposed to do here. And if you're not willing to do this, even for extra pay, then I'm sorry, you just don't give enough of a damn to be in this business, right? Drives me nuts, and that's a big problem, and it's a reason I don't want to support your company particularly. Now, remember that it is not hopeless. The thing that actually inspired this is this watch, the Christopher Ward Super Compressor, and this has an actual quick adjust system in there, but the thing is, the quick adjust system is shorter than one of the links, and so I've had this watch now for almost a year and a half now. But the problem is, I've never been able to wear it on the bracelet because I was in an unhappy medium. Some days it would fit just fine, but if my wrist starts to swell a little bit, I was right at the edge of my adjustment space, and so I ended up in suffering down right here. And mind you, there are greater parts of suffering in human existence, right? I'm not sitting there, but at the same time, a luxury watch shouldn't make you suffer unless you're into the whole, freaking collection pieces. Oh, buy 16 watches and maybe we'll sell you a... Anyways, moving on. That's the kind of suffering some people like. Whatever, that's your kink, enjoy it. But nonetheless, this was unable to be adjusted properly for my wrist, and for a long time they didn't have a half link. I emailed about them, they said, no, should we? It was slightly better than that, but eventually I got put on a mailing list for when they finally pulled their heads out of their the watchmakers' lathes and decided that they were going to make a half link. And so I paid them $20 to ship me this piece of metal right here in the middle, and now the watch fits me beautifully. And I'm able to use the full length of the quick adjustment to make this guy absolutely great on the wrist. This is a happy story, right, of a company realizing, wait a second, we're dumb. We're making our watches in a way that they're not going to fit many of our customers. That is a dumb thing. We should do better. And I was able to get help to do them better. And there are also companies out there that actually provide half links for companies that really don't appear to give any damns about bracelets. Anyways, that provide half links for those kinds of things. The Uncle Seiko, for instance, is a company that's made half links for a variety of different watch brands that are able to add this aftermarket. And I'm paying somebody else to fix the screw-up that this lazy freaking company was making in not providing anything like that. So that can actually provide some relief. And for a lot of people, it is a big sense of relief. And of course, there are hacks you can sometimes do. You can fit a half link from another brand or another watch. Sometimes will fit on the bracelet of your watch. Or sometimes an updated model will release with a half link as an option, so you can talk to your dealer. And so even though there wasn't a half link available then, there's one now. Just keep bothering your dealer over and over again until they freaking make the company do it. But the thing is, it's a real frustration, and sometimes it is hopeless. Like I said, I love this watch a great deal, but every time I wear it, it is either flopping around on my wrist because I'm right at the top of my adjustment hole here, or it's too damn tight. If I try and take out a link and go to the other side here, it just doesn't fit my wrist well. And until I'm able to get a half link either from Tudor or from somebody else, this watch is not going to fit nearly as well as the rest of my watches because Tudor was lazy. And that's just the way it is. And so the internet is just full of people who love watches, who love, they love every part of their watch, except it just doesn't fit. And they end up selling the watch down the road. And that's all because you, a watchmaker who makes precision metal objects, decided you didn't want to make a precision metal object for your luxury piece. And that is so freaking dumb. So I continue my rant here. Half links are not optional, damn it. And the next time that somebody sells you a watch that doesn't have a half link available, you should, just ask, right? Say, hey, can I get a half link for this if I needed it? If the answer is like, yeah, absolutely, sure, why not? Then you know that company cares about you and gives a damn. If the answer is, well, I don't know, I might have to order one from them, then you should stop for a second. You should say, okay, hold hold on there, broski. Double check, make sure it becomes an availability, or make sure that it's going to fit you well. Get some kind of guarantee that they size it and it works okay. But that's always a really dangerous game. If the answer is no, we can't get a half link for this watch, then you are rolling the dice on whether you're going to be able to get a good fit on it. And I honestly think at that point you should half consider moving on. So to me, half links are not optional, watchmakers, damn it. And it's about time. It's 2022. It is about time that we realize this and start actually going the extra mile for those customers. So anyways, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this freaking weapons grade rant, but I am absolutely freaking done with this. And have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you had a half good time with this video. Bye now.